Clemson football may not be using the transfer portal, but Brad Brownell and the basketball program are getting big dividends from the portal, this time adding 4 players who can impact the team this year, and they get another who they redshirted after bringing in from Air Force through the portal last year. So 5 guys via transfer coming in are going to make a big impact on the team next year. Obviously, they made the Elite Eight, a historic run for this program. I don't know if you certainly don't expect that again, but this roster is really good, and they managed to stay old, right? Get old, stay old, and they're using the portal to stay old here. So let's talk about it, and we'll start with the losses just to set the stage. So through the portal, they lost Josh Beadle to Boston College. They lost Jack Clark, who is somehow playing for a 7th year, but they lost Jack Clark to VCU. They lost RJ Godfrey, and honestly, the only one of these that's really upsetting. Godfrey goes to Georgia, what feels like a bidding war situation. Don't have inside information, but that one was pretty unexpected. That one hurts. And Alex Hemingway, he goes to Vanderbilt. All in all, you don't feel too bad about the other 3 based on the team construction. I think it's fine. Godfrey hurts. But then you lose PJ Hall, star player, starting center. He graduates. Joe Girard, he's exhausted his eligibility. He was a 1-year, one and done for Clemson, obviously played at Syracuse longer than that. And then Boss Lida, who came from UNC Greensboro, he exhausted his eligibility. He didn't play a ton. He ended up hurting his shoulder. So they got to replace all of that. That's going to be tough. You think they're going to take a big step back, but Brownell was really aggressive, and I'm really, really impressed. And obviously, we got a long way to go before basketball season, so I'm going to keep this short. But just to give you an overview of where this where the offseason sort of ends in terms of roster construction, they bring in 4 transfers. Jaden Zachary from Boston College is probably the one to be the most excited about. He was their point guard last year, put up 40 points against Clemson across 2 games, including the upset in the ACC tournament where Boston College beat Clemson. 6'2", 220, averaged 11.3 points and 4.2 assists. He's not the shooter, particularly in terms of volume. He's not the shooter that Joe Girard is, but he is a good 3-point shooter. Shot 40.5%, 40.5% from 3 last year. Did it only on 79 threes. So not as heavy of a volume 3-point shooter as Girard by any means, but he's a slasher. His game honestly reminds me of Chase Hunter's game, and that he's going to attack the basket. All indications seem to be, still not official, but as of this recording, I still believe Chase Hunter is going to come back for his 6th year. If that's the case, you've got 2 very talented veterans, Jaden Zachary, a 4th-year player, first year at Clemson, Chase Hunter returning for his 6th year. So you have a really, really veteran backcourt there. That's going to pay dividends. You always talk about having good guards in March, veteran guards in March. Clemson will definitely have both of those. Then you look at the other presumed starter they got through the portal, Victor Lakin, 6'11", 240-pound player. They get him from Cincinnati. He originally is from Russia, averaged 9.2 points, 6 rebounds, so he's not going to go off the charts. But when he's healthy, he's good. Good post moves, a true center of sorts. He will be a 4th-year player after 3 years at Cincinnati. I think the reason he's not looked at as quite in the same way as Jaden Zachary is because he's had a handful of lower body injuries, played only 29 games last year. So there is a durability kind of injury risk with him. But if he's healthy, you team him up with Ian Shefflin, you get some of that high-low action that we saw with Shefflin and PJ Hall last year. You really got to like that. Both of those guys, 4th-year players. So now you've got a veteran good combo in the front court too. So this is again a very veteran team. After losing so many guys last year, they've managed to use the portal to stay old, right? And then Chauncey Wiggins, he is a guy that Clemson actually developed. He's not from the portal. I mean, same thing with Chase Hunter, but Andy and Shefflin for that matter. But he's a good development story. He'll be a junior next year, true junior next year, 6'10", 210 pounds. He only averaged 5.4 and 2.1, but you saw enough flashes that I think you should be excited about what he can become. I think year 3 is a year that Coach Brownell has said he's a guy that he kind of expects to break out. I think he has a good shot to start, kind of be the starting small forward or bigger wing. He shot almost 35% from 3 last year. So I think you could see him being a guy who's a good three-point shooter. He developed some post moves last year, which Coach Brownell commented on as how, you know, he showed growth there. So that is a fantastic starting five. It's a veteran starting five with one junior and four seniors, one of those seniors being a sixth-year senior. And then he made two other moves. I hate to even call them depth moves, but two guys who I don't think will start, but will play potentially significant roles. Christian Reeves, a 7'1", 261-pound redshirt sophomore, or he'll be a redshirt sophomore. They got him from Duke. So that gives Clemson good depth. He kind of slots into the role that Boss Lida played, but it's going to be a lot more important because instead of PJ Hall as your starting center, you have Victor Lakin, who's maybe not quite as durable. So Reeves could get called upon for more action. And I think he's a guy who you kind of expect him. He's not going to start this year, play not a small role, but not super dependent on. But then the following year, he's potentially a starter. So I think that's why he comes to Clemson to get a year of kind of moderate playing time, certainly more than he got at Duke, which wasn't much. And then he could be potentially like a 2-year starter at Clemson. The other is Myles Foster. He's the latest addition. He comes from Illinois State of the Missouri Valley Conference. He will be a 5th-year senior, 6'7", 235. And he's a true post. Big, strong guy, averaged 12.4 points, 8.1 rebounds. Not going to shoot many threes. He was 1 for 12 from 3 last year. Not that kind of outside shooter. 65% free throw shooter. So kind of a more veteran version of RJ Godfrey. You know, Godfrey's got 2 years left, so you lose kind of the runway, but this is sort of what you wanted Godfrey to grow into, is what Myles Foster is. He played 3 years at Monmouth before going to Illinois State, so this is actually his 3rd school. So he's capping off a career at Clemson, and honestly really takes the blow out of losing Godfrey. You bring in the guy whose game is kind of what you wanted Godfrey's to become. And again, now you've got another senior, you know, on the bench. So you've got to love how they fixed the front court depth on top of bringing in a new starter in Victor Lakin from Cincinnati. And then the backups for the wings and the point guard. I guess start at point guard. You did lose Josh Beadle, but you've got Dylan Hunter coming back for his junior year. You also have freshman Del Jones coming in. Feel good about that for depth. And then at the shooting guard or the smaller wing position, you have Jake Heidbreder, his first true year of actually playing at Clemson after being excellent at Air Force in the Mountain West, which is pretty solid conference. He redshirted at Clemson last year, got healthy, and he's a really good shooter. So he really fills the void of Hemingway and maybe eats up some of the 3-pointers that they lose with Joe Girard departing. I think he's a real ace coming off the bench. And then the other guy is Ace Buckner, true freshman. I don't know how much of a role he's really going to have, but he's additional depth if needed. But I think Heidbreder is a very important guard off the bench, especially if anyone gets hurt. But that's outstanding backcourt depth with Heidbreder and Dylan Hunter as your 2 backups. And then the one guy who doesn't get mentioned a lot, he redshirted last year, was Asa Thomas, a freshman they brought in. He's 6'7", only 185 pounds, or at least he was. Or that's what's listed on Clemson's website. So hopefully he's gained weight since then, but needs to put on some muscle. But they've comped him sort of a younger Hunter Tyson. Remember, he came in, showed some skill, but was really, really skinny. Needed to just kind of get refined. I think that's what Asa Thomas is sort of trending to. So I think he's kind of like a Chauncey Wiggins, you know, a year younger. So perhaps he could also contribute off the bench. So that's 12 deep right there. So, you know, Clemson went to the Elite 8 last year. Obviously, you don't expect that every year, but I'm just really, really impressed that Brownell was able to reload again. This program feels like it's finally got momentum. They went to the Sweet 16 2018, didn't do a whole lot. In between that and this Elite 8 run, they had the one NCAA tournament appearance where they lost the 7-10 tournament game to Rutgers. Now it seems like he's really found his footing. It took long enough, but boy, has Brownell kind of made himself into, maybe he'll be the Frank Beamer of Clemson. If you know Virginia Tech football, Beamer was not that great for quite a while, and then he really hit a stride, and it feels like we're on the verge of something like that for Coach Brownell. So long way to basketball season, but a lot to look forward to. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this channel. It really helps out a lot. As always, go Tigers.